Oh, hello, sensitive souls. Welcome to Surviving to Thriving, where we address how to move from struggle and just surviving in a world that is usually feeling too big, too loud, too fast, too busy, just too much, to a place of calm and actually thriving as highly sensing people. I'm your host and sensory coach, Tammy Goen, and I'm so glad that you're here, as always. And this month, we've been talking about our needs and strengths and leadership in the workplace. And one of the real common issues that comes up in coaching with other highly sensitives is the idea of self-doubt and imposter syndrome. And I'll be talking about that today. And as often I like to do, I found a quote that is really helpful today, I think. It might surprise you to discover that some of the superstars you see on the big screen, or those entertaining thousands in stadiums, have moments of sheer terror before they go on stage. They also compare themselves to others in their field and wonder and worry that they will not live up to expectations of those who are supporting and depending on them. And this is by Trish Taylor in her book, Yes, You Are Good Enough. Now, I have not read that book. I just found the quote and thought it was very appropriate and really appreciated it because all of that information is true and it can be just that much more true for highly sensitives, which is why I want to talk about that today. So let's talk about what is imposter syndrome, first of all, and then we can talk about self-doubt. We can talk about imposter syndrome in general. But what well, let me start with this potential. There's lots of different definitions, but this one in particular we can work from. Imposter syndrome is a pervasive psychological pattern categorized by chronic self-doubt and a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud despite evidence of competence. And I will be coming back to this in particular with a story with a previous client to make more sense of that. And it affects people from all walks of life, including high-achieving individuals, and can undermine their self-esteem, performance, and overall well-being. And that last piece, the well-being part, is what I tend to focus on the most and why I really like to work with this topic with clients, because it really can decrease our sense of well-being and our overall enjoyment of life if we are really feeling mired in this imposter syndrome. And it can be definitely more prevalent in HSPs than in the average population. And of course, the quotes that I used share that it can be anyone at any level of performance at all, of course. But a lot of those folks that were referenced were probably also likely highly sensing, because as we know, we can be a higher percentage of those found in the creatives or in those who are maybe, talking around the world about their expertise, that we can be more likely to be highly sensing. So why is this more prevalent for us, or more challenging sometimes, or experienced in a deeper way, maybe even? So one of those things would be that we have this heightened sense of awareness. And so when we're really aware of our experience of something and what our emotions are and what our own expectations are, we can really get stuck in in that place of being aware so much and thinking so much. And then that does even lead to being more aware of what somebody else might be thinking. And so then we could go there too. It's like, oh, well, what's the reaction or the experience of all these other people, not just my own, but because of that awareness is so much more heightened, that's a stronger possibility. And then we have stronger emotionality. So when we do have a reaction to something, we feel something, whether that's fear, hopefully not to the point of terror, with something that we're doing, but it could say it's fear. Then when we really get into that emotional place, it can seem to validate what our doubts are. It doesn't make them more real, but it can feel more real when we have this visceral response, which is so much, more likely for highly sensing people. And then of course we do have perfectionism. And I've talked about that before. We do have that tendency to want to be perfect, to have everything turn out perfectly, to be seen as perfect. And so it's easy for us because, again, that's a nebulous concept, perfectionism or perfect, because what is perfect? We can always say, well, yeah, that worked out just the way I was hoping, but I could have done it a little bit better, or well, somebody else would have done it differently. I should have done this. And so we can, it's just a big loop. It's that, squirrel, we can go and go into that rabbit hole pretty easily. So that affects the feeling that we're just not good enough and we're not what everyone thinks we are because we're not perfect. And then we have that tendency to overthink and ruminate on things. So even sometimes if we do something in the moment that seemed like, well, okay, I did that well, or that worked out well, everyone seemed to be really happy. And then later we go back and we think about it again. Some others might have just been like, oh, that was great, moved on and not even really consider it again. But we're more likely to reconsider it and say, oh, okay, so what was that all about? How did that go? And then start to have those little doubts creep in because we're still thinking about it. We're still thinking about it. Oh, but I could have said this, or what if I'd done this, or I wish this, or I should have. All those shoulds can come back in of what I should have done to make it even better. It wasn't really good enough. And we can get caught up again in that just because we're overthinking or we're just thinking about it repeatedly, and it lets in that space for all of those doubts to come in. And then we do have that tendency to make comparisons with other people. Not that we're the only ones that do that, but we have that greater tendency to do it and to experience, a deeper sense of feeling with regard to that comparison, rather than like, oh yeah, somebody else might have done that differently. No big deal, let it go. But for us, we might be really stuck on that. And if we are comparing with other people, again, we don't know where others are coming from or what their background is, or, they have a good day, a bad day, whatever. So comparing with someone else is never really helpful unless we're just trying to aspire to be like someone else, of course. But again, if we're making those comparisons all the time, we tend to often fall short. And there are things that are real and perceived. So we can get locked into these perceived comparisons of, oh, I'm not as good as so-and-so with this. When if someone else had come up and said, hey, which one is better? They could have said that you were better, or that, oh, they're equally the same. But in our view, we can minimize that and see that as perceived lacking in comparison with somebody else. So that always makes things a little more challenging. And we do have a fear of judgment and difficulty handling criticism quite often, maybe more so than the average population. So those things can lead to us, again, doubting ourselves, taking a look again at what just happened, the hour before, the day before, whatever we had whatever our performance was, and start second guessing that because maybe someone said a comment of, oh, it would have been nice if you'd added this. And to us, maybe that turns into, oh, I didn't do that well, or I should have, or it didn't have the impact I wanted, or something like that. And then again, we do the overthinking, and all of those things can make it really challenging to just say, oh, okay, I'm going to use that constructively. And next time I'm going to add that to my presentation as well, because yeah, I didn't include that and I could do that. But in seeing it as a building tool rather than just that criticism or that lack, that falling short. And then one other thing and there are many other factors involved in imposter syndrome, but another that I'm going to mention today is just this reluctance, this real difficulty we tend to have in seeking help and needing to know everything that we need to know. Not that we have to be like know-it-alls, well, we can sometimes, but having to know everything that we should know in our view, and feeling like if we don't have all of that, then we're not okay. And if we ask for help, or we ask for support, or we delegate something, whatever that looks like, then we can see that in ourselves as weak or falling short because, well, I should know all of that, or I shouldn't have to look to somebody else to do this. I should be able to do it all myself. So all of those factor into that imposter syndrome. Oh, if I have to have help from someone on this, then I'm not really what everyone thinks I am. I should be able to do it by myself. So I wanted to throw out an example to make this more real life, in maybe resonate with something that you've experienced. But I had a client recently who not that she was coming specifically for that, but this really surfaced in a very strong way when we were working. I'm going to call her Liz. So she was in a leadership position in a management role, had been that way for a number of years. And even talking about it at that time, she said, I've been doing this for all this time. I get all this really good feedback quite often, and which surprises me, but I really don't know why I'm even in this position. Why I'm not a leader. Why am I in management? I don't understand it. And so we really had to work on what her belief structure was about management or leadership ability, and to be able to identify the strengths that she had that obviously were working, because she got the good feedback all the time. She got promotions. She was put in this role and had no indication that she wasn't doing a good job. But on her own, she thought, I'm not a leader. Really? I just don't understand it. So one of the things that was really helpful for her was I had her create a list of what she thought the typical expected standard leader looks like, and had those bulleted out. And then asked her to create a list of what she would prefer in a leader of herself. So someone that would be leading her, what would that look like that she would appreciate and resonate with as a leader, and created that list. And then looking at the two of those, asking, where do you fit in? And she was able to recognize that quite a number of those things in the list of what she would resonate with is how she led, how she managed, that those were her traits. They aren't on the list that she thought was expected or that was the status quo. But when she realized that she had all of these skills that she actually values, it made a huge shift for her in terms of seeing herself as a leader, even though that looked different than what she thought the standard should be, or what people think, well, if I'm going to be successful, I have to do it this way, and all these things don't resonate for me. I really want to do it this way instead, and seeing that as weak or less than or lacking, instead of celebrating and saying, oh, this is the way that I lead, and look at this. So how do we counteract this imposter syndrome that's so intense for us? And the first thing really is that self-compassion, to be able to say, yes, I am highly sensing, and it's actually a really good thing. And I have to deal with all of this, input constantly, and I have to really work on my nervous system and my self-care and do all these things. So yeah, there's a lot I'm dealing with sometimes, and I'm going to acknowledge that and pat myself on the back for the things that I do and all the tools that I use. And going forward, then I can use those things to actually help me, instead of feeling less than, weak, just not having what is necessary for that success or to do well in that position. And looking at what those expectations are that we have of ourselves based on what the status quo is, or what we've been told our whole lives, or what we've learned successful leadership looks like, and just giving ourselves that compassion of, oh, this is my worldview, my life, the way things work for me, and honoring that and moving forward. So basically kind of, cutting yourself some slack for not being typical. And one of the things that often happens in this scenario and many others is if we employ that tool of saying, what would I tell my best friend in this situation? So say your best friend was a leader or a manager, or just somehow trying to hone her leadership abilities. What would you tell that person versus what do you tell yourself about your abilities and your skills? And looking at that type of comparison, instead of saying, oh, okay, I'm expecting all of this for myself, but I wouldn't expect my best friend to do it that way. So that's just one of those helpful tools. Whatever it is that we're trying to shift in our mindset, is to again look at it like, what would I say to someone else? And then practicing loving kindness for yourself. We're usually pretty good at doing that with other people, whether you do that just directly through meditation, or just as your way of interacting with people in the world. That's usually fairly easy for us to come from that place of loving kindness, but we don't always turn that toward ourselves and inward to say, oh, you know what? It would be really great. Oh, great way to take care of myself today if I were to give myself an hour break right now. Or in the case of imposter syndrome ideas, yeah, I could have done more and maybe worn myself out, maybe not really enjoyed myself at all. Maybe what I did was just enough. So that loving kindness turned inward rather than just outward. And then being able to challenge our negative self-talk and then reframe. So it's easy for us to get in that loop, telling ourselves those things over and over, but to be able to sit back and say, what is it that I'm telling myself? I'm saying that I don't do things the same way as someone else, so that's not good enough. How can I challenge that and reframe it? And then using that self-compassion, being able to say, I do things differently than average, maybe, or what's in my mind as average, but maybe that's okay. Maybe that's a good thing. What are some of the ways that can actually be helpful? And just do a complete 180 reframe instead of being stuck in that, oh, it's just not good enough place. And then being able to just really embrace our uniqueness, letting go of that need to be perfect, but also recognizing, yeah, I am wired this way. I am highly sensing. One of the reasons I really like that, I was just talking with someone about this morning, is using that word. If we let go of sensitive and we use sensing, highly sensing, that can really feel empowering, I think. And this is, someone else was mentioning that this morning too. It's like, wow, that sounds really empowering to say it that way. So if we think of ourselves as being highly sensing and that I can pick up on all this stuff, I can experience all these things and process things this way. I have all of these abilities because I'm highly sensing, and really honor that and let go of the need to be somehow different, but just really embrace that. And then allow yourself to be rewarded either by others. Sometimes we have a hard time accepting compliments or being rewarded without downplaying things. So accepting rewards from others, but also giving ourselves rewards for successes and for the value that we bring to things, instead of just saying, oh, well, yeah, that's, of course, anyone would do that, or that's no big deal. But being able to say, yeah, that was great. I brought a lot of value to that, or I did a really good job with that, and being able to embrace it and reward ourselves for that. And then it's really good to be able to set realistic goals, to not expect so much from ourselves. And again, we can say, okay, if you're part of it, managing a team in that kind of leadership role, would you expect all of the same things from all of your employees or all of your coworkers that you expect for yourself? Or are you expecting even more for yourself? And is that reasonable? So looking at realistic and reasonable, and seeing where you can tweak and maybe let go of some things. And along those same lines, being able to let go in terms of actual work is asking for help, really practicing doing that. I know asking for help, it took a long time for me, because I was really locked into that feeling of, if I can't do it, then there's something wrong, I'm weak, or someone's going to think I'm weak. Oh, why didn't she take care of that herself? And being able to just ask. And usually people like to be able to help out. So that was a learning experience for me too. It's like, okay, I'm being vulnerable and I'm asking for help, and they're like, oh, great, and no problem at all. I'm like, wow, that's just not where I had been coming from. So that can be a learning process, being able to get to that place of asking for help, but also things like delegating and tabling things for later. You don't have to get everything done all at once, as fast as humanly possible or inhumanly possible. It's okay to say, oh, I got all this stuff done today. This one will wait till tomorrow or the end of the week or next week, and not expect yourself to do 150% all the time. So if you're not feeling like you're really cut out for leadership, or that you're not performing quite as well as you would like, I would encourage you to do the same thing that I mentioned that my client, Liz, did, and create a list of what your expectations are for that situation. whether it's a leader, what are your expectations, do you think, or the average expectations of what a leader looks like, and create that list. Or if it's something that you're doing that you're not sure if you're doing it well enough, well, what are the expectations for that project or that role, whatever it is that you think everyone is expecting, or just that's the status quo. And then create one for yourself that is, well, what would actually be effective and efficient and reasonable that would resonate with me, where if I saw someone doing it that way, I would think, oh, that's really great, or that works really well, and it feels good. It might not be typical or what you think it would be expected, but what would that look like, whether it's leadership or project completion or discussion with someone, whatever that is. Create that new list, and then look at it and say, well, so which one feels better? First of all, I could probably make a guess, but see which one actually feels better, and then see where you lie in between or in one of those lists. Are you within the bounds of that expected list, but feeling miserable and wiped out and just constantly struggling, but feeling like, well, I have to do it this way, and I've so far been able to do it, but I'm just wiped out by the end of the day, and I still end up, second guessing and feeling like an imposter? Or do you see yourself more in that other list, that now you're able to say, maybe that's an okay thing. Maybe if I do it differently, and this is the way that resonates with me, what are the benefits of all of that? Maybe I'm doing a lot better than I think I am. It's just different. So that might be, a nice way to kind of see where you're at, how you're making those comparisons, what you're expecting of yourself, and then being able to acknowledge what you're doing doing so well already, and then build on that instead of always trying to get in that certain direction that just doesn't feel right. So another thing that I want to throw in before we wrap up is this idea that it's really easy for us to not recognize the benefits of our trait and how they show up. So all the things that are working, that are what people like, that seem to be helpful, it's easy for us to not focus on those things, not see them as successes or benefits or skills that we have, because they're easy, or they just naturally happen because of the way we approach things, the way we're wired, the way we experience everything. It's just natural. So it's easy to minimize those things or devalue them and think, oh, well, those are great things, but here's where I'm lacking. But if we can start to shift and recognize, where do I succeed? Where do I excel in things? What things can I do that other people don't seem to get or be able to do or notice or think of that are actually helpful? And start to identify those things, that what we do bring to the table, what we do bring to life, what that others don't, and see how powerful those things are. And then be able to step back and say, oh, yeah, a lot of those things are because I process things the way I do, because of my sensitivity. And then we can honor those and give ourselves more power, more emphasis to let those come forward. So there are so many benefits to being highly sensing. And if we can get out of our own way, we can really shine with those things. So I hope that was helpful for you today. I know it was kind of a lot to compact into a short time frame, but I hope that you'll rethink, as I know you will. You'll think many things over and over, but hopefully you will use some of this to think multiple times, and to just revisit the way that you're approaching things in terms of being successful or a leader or doing things well, and be able to increasingly let go of that need to be perfect and to be feeling like, you're an imposter or not what everyone else thinks that they're seeing in you. All right. Thank you so much, as always, for being here. It's always great to have you on this journey toward thriving. And I'd love to, to connect with you directly anytime. Just reach out through my email, or you can go to Linktree and find me just with my name, Tammy Goen. I've got all of my resources. I've got an app. You can find the links to that on there. If you'd like a app just for highly sensing people, please look through everything that's offered there on Linktree. And I hope that I will connect with you directly, individually, soon in the future. And until then, I will say goodbye and look forward to seeing you next week. We will have a special guest, so that'll be really fun, and have a fabulous, fabulous day.